Hey everybody! Today we're talking about air consumption and the things that you can do to improve your air consumption, which will ultimately help you stay underwater longer. This topic was actually recommended by one of you, so thank you. I really do like this topic because it's something that every diver thinks about. At its core, air consumption is just how quickly you use the air in your tank. And there's some things that affect this, and I'll go over those and also ways to help you conserve more air. Let's dive on in. The first thing that affects air consumption is how you as the diver are diving. Your buoyancy, your trim, your drag, and your gear. When your buoyancy or your trim is off, you're constantly moving around, kicking your fins, moving your arms, using more energy, which is going to make you breathe more air. Or you're constantly adding or venting air in your BCD, so you really want to make sure you're not underweighted or overweighted. Either way is going to make you work harder, which is going to make you breathe more. When you're neutrally buoyant, horizontal, and streamlined, the water supports you and your breathing slows down because of it. This is because you're doing less work to stay in the right position as far as trim and where you are in the water column itself. Also, dangling hoses or any unsecured accessories will increase your drag. You really want to make sure everything is close up to you and secured on you. Another thing that affects air consumption is actually your exposure protection. If you're too cold in the water, you start to become tense and you could be shivering. You're going to be breathing faster in order for your body to keep you warm. And if you're too warm in the water, you're uncomfortable, and this is going to make you breathe faster as well. You really want to make sure you have the right exposure protection for the environment you're diving in and what you personally can handle too. Just something to keep note of as well. As you gain experience as a diver, you're going to be moving around less. So for example, as a new diver or a newer diver, they tend to move around a lot more. So say you're on a dive site and you're wearing a 3mm wetsuit, and that 3mm wetsuit could be perfectly fine. If you go back to that dive site, say a year later, or 6 months later even, depending on how much you're diving, that 3mm wetsuit might not keep you warm anymore or as warm because you're not moving around as much. So you might have to up your exposure protection. Just something to keep in mind as you gain experience. Now, a lot of people might not realize this, but the type of fins that you use will also have an effect on how much air you consume. If your fins are too stiff for your leg strength or they don't fit well, you'll end up working a lot harder with each kick. That extra effort can lead to fatigue, discomfort, and faster breathing, which will make you use more air. Now, you might hear people talk about split fins versus solid or closed fins. Split fins are typically designed to reduce leg strain, and they work better with a gentle flutter kick. For some divers, that works perfectly for them, and they're very comfortable with that. But other divers will find that a solid fin is a lot more effective because it's going to give you better movements with fewer kicks. And it works really well with a frog kick. A frog kick is definitely something you want to work on because it's going to help you move through the water efficiently with little effort. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this next one, but it's probably one of the most important ones, not just for air consumption, but just for health in general, and that is your fitness and your cardio health. The better your heart works, the better it's going to deliver oxygen to your whole body with less effort. Less effort means that you'll conserve more air. So when you're out of the water, get that heart rate up. So when you're in the water, it's a lot easier on you and your body. Now this takes me into your breathing. Fast, shallow breathing will burn air quickly, while slow, controlled breathing will conserve it. So if you're stressed or anxious underwater, you're going to use more air. Newer divers tend to go through air a lot faster than a more experienced one. They just move around a lot more, they fidget a lot more. Sometimes even with more experienced divers, an unfamiliar dive site might increase their breath for a little bit just because it's unfamiliar to them and they're not used to it yet. But it's very important to relax during the dive. One thing you can do before even getting into the water is visualizing the dive. Visualization is extremely beneficial. It'll help you be calm and be calm at depth. Something else that is extremely beneficial is breathing slowly and deeply. This will help ground you and regulate your nervous system if you're a little anxious, and it'll make you more mindful. As divers gain experience, they just naturally become calmer because they're more relaxed in the water. And the only way to gain experience is to dive as much as you can. As a result of all this, your air consumption is naturally going to improve. Now, I talked about the things on you and as a diver. Here are some things that you can't control, which is the environment. First thing I'm going to touch on is depth and pressure. The deeper you go, the more pressure there is around you and on you. And the air that you breathe becomes denser once it leaves your tank. The best way to conserve air with depth is diving more shallow. And really in the ocean, you want to stay around where the coral reefs are, which are typically shallower dives, because that's where you're going to see most of the marine life you're looking for. But other things like cold water, low visibility, diving in currents, these are going to also affect the diver's air consumption, and just something to think about. But this part is very, very important. Air consumption is not a competition. Different divers will use air differently based on body size, large body mass versus a smaller body mass. It's just how it is. There's no right or wrong. It's just how we're individually made. And the other thing is lung volume. People naturally have different lung volumes, but air consumption is really influenced by breathing pattern, effort, stress, and heart health, which is something you can definitely work on. But those are the main things that influence air consumption other than just your lung volume alone. So basically, the less you move underwater, the slower and deeper your breathing is, the more air you're going to conserve. Think of a barracuda, whether you've seen one in the aquarium or in the ocean. They don't move unless they have to move. And when they do move, they're extremely efficient and quick. Now, you don't have to be quick underwater, but being efficient is going to conserve that air and conserve that energy. So dive like a barracuda. Now, you can do all this, but at the end of the day, if you just know you suck down air fast, the other option too is always getting a bigger size tank. Now, a standard rental tank that they have mostly at every dive shop is an aluminum 80 cubic foot. Now, that's going to top off around 3,000 PSI. Now, some dive shops do offer aluminum 100s to rent as well. So it's the same as an aluminum 80, just a little bigger, so you'll be able to stay down a little longer with more air. You can also see if steel tanks are available. Steel tanks are much stronger than aluminum tanks. These tanks can safely handle higher pressures. A high pressure steel tank will top off about 3,400 or 3,500 PSI. But please remember this. If you are ever low on air and you are not that far into your dive, please don't keep it to yourself. You want to communicate this early on, because running low on air without telling your dive buddy can put you guys, both of you guys, extremely high at risk and in a very dangerous situation. So please don't keep it to yourself. If you are low on air, let your buddy know. Last but not least, make sure you enjoy the dive. Slow down your movements and your breathing. Take advantage of life being slow underwater. The water physically makes you slow down. So be calm, be relaxed, relax your shoulders, your hands, relax your jaw. Focus on being present and not rushing to the next thing. You'll notice a lot more underwater when you're moving slow, plus you'll conserve on air. I hope this episode helped. Thank you again to the subscriber who recommended it. And if there's something that you want to see in the future, leave it in the comments. As always, dive safe, dive smart, dive mindfully. Bye.